Good evening, church family. Alex Wooten here for the Lilies Chapel Church of Christ. This is our Sunday evening lesson, and we're doing and continuing to do the questions Jesus asked. We're going to do this for the next year or more, depending on how many questions I find. Tonight's question comes out of John chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. And the question that is asked is, do you want to get well? And I got to laugh a little at this because it says that the man at the pool had been sick for 38 years. And I just happened to be 38 years old. And I started thinking that is my entire lifetime. For as long as I've been breathing, laughing, growing up, going to school, making mistakes, meeting people, preaching sermons, this man had been laying on a mat. And that is a long, long time. And the part that gets me, though, is when Jesus comes up to him, he doesn't just wave his hand and heal the man. No. He asks the question, almost, in my opinion, unnecessarily, do you want to get well? Now, if I were there, I probably would have whispered, oh, Jesus, what kind of a question is that? Of course he wants to get well. But maybe not. You see, Jesus knows something about us that we don't always admit. Sometimes we have situations in our life that allow us, or at least make us think that we don't actually want healing. Sometimes we'd rather stay stuck because change is scary. So today we're going to lean in this question. Do you want to get well? Because it's not just for a man in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. It's for me. It's for you. For all of us who have learned to live with the brokenness instead of bringing it to Jesus. So let's allow us to get real for a minute. We all have our mats, don't we? Things we've carried so long they feel like part of us. Some of us it's guilt. I know God forgives, but I can't forgive myself. Some of us it's anger or bitterness. If only they knew what they did to me, you'd understand why I just can't let it go. Maybe it's, for some people, it's habits. I've prayed about this temptation 100 times and nothing ever changes. Nothing. The hard truth, though, is sometimes we get comfortable in our brokenness. It becomes familiar. It becomes predictable. It becomes safe. Getting well would mean stepping into a whole new way of life, and that's scary. So if Jesus stood in front of us today, right here, and said, do you want to get well? How would you answer? Getting into the story, in John 5, verses 1 through 3, they're at the pool of Bethesda. And picture this, porches lined with the sick, blind eyes staring into nothing, crippled legs twisted between worn out mats, people waiting, hoping for a miracle. It's not a quiet, peaceful scene. It's a desperate scene. Verse 5, we see that one man had been there for 38 years. Imagine how that piled up. First year, maybe this is temporary. 5th year, I'll get better soon. 10th year, maybe next season. 30th year, this is just who I am now. Verse 6, Jesus sees him, and that's important. No one else seems to see him anymore. And then he asks, do you want to get well? Why does he ask? I think, family, that he asks because it's not about fixing just the body, it's about transforming a life. Jesus is asking, are you ready with everything that's about to come with transformation that's going to happen? The responsibility and the freedom and the change. The man answers, but notice he doesn't say yes. Instead, he says, I have no one to help me. Someone else always gets there first. He still thinks Jesus is trying to lower him into the pool of Bethesda. Excuses, blame, and despair. 38 years of disappointment has trained him to expect nothing more. And then Jesus cut to it all. Get up, pick up your mat, and walk. No angel, no water, just the word of God, and instantly he's healed. So I want to sit with that question again. Do you want to get well? It sounds simple, but it presses into every single corner of our lives. Do you want to get well? The first thing is spiritually, the weight of shame. Some of us are carrying guilt that's been sitting on our chest for years, maybe decades. You know God forgives in theories, but every time you try to pray, that familiar failure pops up in your mind and you feel like damaged goods. I think back to a gentleman I knew who left the church years ago because he thought he messed up too bad to ever come back, and he told me, God's probably tired of me by now. But the truth is, Jesus never asks how many times you've messed up. He just says, do you want to get well? Because his mercy is new every morning, right? So maybe you've been sitting with that shame for 5, 10, maybe 38 years. Jesus is still asking. Secondly, relationally, that cup of bitterness I mentioned. Some of us are not so much sick in body as we might be in the relationships that we have. Somebody hurt us, maybe years ago, and they've kept that a wound. We've kept that wound alive by refusing to forgive. I've seen churches torn apart because two people clung against grudges instead of grace. I've seen families not speak because of decades, because nobody wanted to be the first one to say, hey, I'm sorry. Bitterness keeps you on the mat. It'll chain you to the past. And Jesus looks at us and says, do you want to get well? Not, can you fix them? Can you rewrite the history? Can you take my past and fix that? No, do you want to be free? And then you have the habituality of things, the rut of sin. And then there are the habits that we hate and we can't seem to quit. Anger that flares, words we regret, the bottle we keep searching for. Sin is sneaky. It tells us, this is who you are now. You're never going to change. And after 5, 10, 15, 38 years, we begin to believe it. But Jesus doesn't walk away. He says, let me explain why you're sick. Jesus doesn't walk up to the man and say, allow me to explain why you're sick. He doesn't say, give me your 5-step plan to get better. He simply says, get up. That's the power of his word. He speaks new life where we've only known defeat and death. Think about our community here in East Texas, in Jenkins, in Dangerfield, in Pittsburgh. We've seen people stuck in cycles, poverty, addiction, anger, gossip, fear. And if we're not careful, we can shake our heads and we can oftentimes say, well, that's the way it is. But my friends, gospel refuses to just leave us there. Jesus' question comes right down into here, right into our homes. Do you want to get well? Getting well might mean laying your pride down and asking for help. It might mean stepping into accountability. It might mean saying, Lord, I can't do this without you. You see, that man walked out of Bethesda carrying something he never dreamed of. His mat. Think about it. For 38 years, that mat represented failure, disappointment, excuses. It was a symbol of his stuckness, and now it became a trophy of his grace. Imagine the whispers as he walked past. Wait, isn't that the guy that's been here for 38 years? No way. He rolled up mat, then becomes his testimony. Everywhere he went, people can see living proof of what Jesus had done and what no one else could do. What is your mat? What have you been laying on so long that it's become your identity? Is it a secret sin? Is it a deep regret? A wound that you've allowed to define you? Here's the good news, that Jesus doesn't want to just heal you. He wants to hand you your mat as the story of your victory. The very thing that once shamed you can become the evidence of your grace. But you've got to want to get well. You've got to let him speak over your life. You've got to be willing to stand up when he says, get up. Picture it. The addict who once said, I'm never going to be free, standing here years later, sober, mat in hand. The couple who once thought their marriage was over, standing hand in hand, mat in hand. The believer who thought they had wandered too far from God, worshiping in tears streaming down their face, mat in hand. You see, the mat never disappears. It becomes part of your story. And your story might be the very thing that gives someone else hope. So I want to challenge you this week. Identify your mat. Stop pretending it's there or not there and name it. Bring it to Jesus in prayer. Honestly, like that man at Bethesda, excuses and all, bring it to Jesus in prayer. And then listen. When he tells you to get up, trust him enough to move, get up, trust him, and move on. Because the question isn't whether Jesus can make you well. The cross and the empty tomb already have proven that. The real question is whether or not you're going to let him. So one last time, church. Do you want to get well?